Good evening and welcome to Night Colors Bigfoot Radio. You're here with your hostess, Lauren Smith, and tonight we're going to be chatting with Patrick Vaugn, who is a bushcrafter and a Bigfoot researcher, among many other things. But before we get into it, I would like to ask that you show some love for that hardworking Night Colors team by hitting that thumbs up on whatever platform you're using to listen to the show. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for new updates on new content and on whatever I have coming out for the show. Also, you guys can now go to www.nightcallersproductions.com and see everything I'm working on, all my projects under one place. And there's plenty of new ways to enjoy the content there. I have a lot of great new things coming, and you guys definitely don't want to miss out. So I am going to just jump into it and bring Patrick on. How are you doing tonight, Patrick?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. We had a little technical difficulty there at the beginning. I don't know if you saw me freaking out over here. Yeah, he noticed. You saw. Thank you for working with me on that. So Patrick has obliged. He's coming on tonight, and since it's Valentine's Day, we are going to talk about Bigfoot erotica. So I'm really excited to get into that, and I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I would not subject you to that. Although that is a thing. Literally didn't know that was a thing until recently. Okay, so Patrick, how did you get started in survival and bushcraft and all of that? No, listen, I'm being serious now.
I'm trying. Okay.
I warned you.
Well, I'm turning a little red. Okay. Well, primitive survival just kind of came natural for me. Growing up, a lot of what I killed and what we raised was food. We had one big chest freezer, and what we killed and raised went into it. And that's what we ate out of. And so, hunting and killing just came natural. It was something you had to do. And a few years just working, all work and no play is, no fun. And so, I really got bored about modern hunting. I got bored with it, and I wanted to get into the more primitive firearms type hunting situations. And I ran into someone that was in a group, and I got invited out, and I joined up. You can't ask to join you out a few times, and then if they like you, if you are showing interest and putting effort into learning the skill sets, then they'll sign you up for a 2-year trial, and you have X amount of skill sets to learn in that time frame. And if you do that, you're in. If you don't, you're out.
Yeah.
And it was just a blast to me. I loved it. And it expanded my my wilderness experiences. I got to go to places all over the country, canoeing or packing in hunting or jumping and partying,
Yeah.
Learning, I'm a third generation tracker. My grandfather was a tracker and woodsman, and my father was a tracker and woodsman, and I just didn't have a choice in it. But hunting, and primitive life skills was just fun to me.
Yeah.
And I run into something that wasn't supposed to be there doing that.
So you're a third generation tracker, primitive living skills instructor, obviously out in nature, and that's just what you do. So, that being out there that often. So how old were you when you had this experience that kind of changed things for you?
30. I was 30 years old.
So pretty much 30 years of being in the woods before you saw something that. So at that point, and I'll let you get into what happened, but at that point, did it make you rethink a bunch of weird things that had happened before or that you had heard before? anything like that?
One. There was
Okay.
one time that, most of this subject you learn in retrospect. Some of it you can experience and discern out right then, but the rest of it's all retrospect. And when you start thinking about the knocks that you've heard, I remember being 12 years old on the backside of a lake back in a swamp, way back there, alone, and hearing 3 knocks across that swamp on a cold morning. Knock, knock, knock. Just 100 yards out across that swamp, knock, knock, knock. And so I realized at, I guess, 31 years old, I realized that back then I had one looking at me and giving me a 3-knock warning in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they've been there this whole time.
Right.
And I never want them to be,
Yeah.
I was never an advocate for their existence.
So, I mean, okay, so what happened at 30 that
I do my due diligence tracking and find the best place to go and set up, and it was about a mile in, and there was 2 great confluences of game run and deer trail come there, and I set a climbing stand up in there, and I come across a Bigfoot. Okay. She come through the woods, but I didn't know at that time what it was. She busted me when I was in that deer stand and took off running through the brush, and I heard whack, 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 whack as it was running away. And as I was leaving that evening, the sun was on the horizon, and she came up, circled around, and got beside me and was paralleling me out of the woods up to this dim road. And once I hit, I saw what it was, and it's not anything that's supposed to have been there. I took a half. I would take a couple of steps and she'd jump, and I couldn't catch her. Take a couple steps, jump, she couldn't catch her. And finally, I took a half a step and I looked, and there she is in mid-flight, coming from one tree in midair with her right leg is stretched out, her left leg is slightly bent behind her. She's looking where she's going to land at, and you could see the hair on her face. You could see her jawbone. You could see her breasts. You could see all her muscular features of her body, her leg especially. And when she hit the ground and she bounced. And as she bounced, and it really softened her landing pretty quietly. She bounced, and as she bounced, the hair on this shoulder flew up, kind of bounced up like this, and you can see the sun playing in the hairs. You can see the split ends on her hairs that were blondish color. She's a dark orange red, and all this on the very end is split and almost blondish color in the sunlight. It comes up, kind of down, and goes behind that tree. And that was a shock. That's not supposed to be there. And and she chased me for a mile out of those woods.
That's crazy. Okay, first question: did she look like she Squatch?
You put me on the spot like that, didn't you?
I'm sorry. I'm like picturing Tanya Knight running through the woods in a she Squatch costume. I need to know.
Well, I guess Tanya Knight with a dark reddish, hair on her, and
was
maybe
she
a couple inches taller.
Okay, was she as well endowed as she Squatch?
I've never studied she Squatch.
Your nose is growing, Pinocchio. Everybody studies she Squatch.
The one that I saw in the woods had C cup. They were about a C cup.
Okay.
I have no idea what she Squatch is.
This is why I chose you for the Valentine's Day episode.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, just she was 6'1", 2,
Okay.
Strapping, muscular body, very nice build, very fast, very
Hmm.
quiet, and a lot of attitude.
So do you think, I mean, with her having lighter ends, I mean, that just lends to her camo. It's a lot like foliage, darker towards the middle, lighter towards the ends.
Well, just her natural ability to stay to the brush.
Hmm.
I was trying to catch her and couldn't. I had to take a step and throw her off of her sequence of stalking.
Yeah.
Because I understand stalking, and so I used against her what I would use against myself to screw up the stalk.
Right.
And there she is, and I cannot get the image out of my head. It's burnt there.
Hmm.
Okay, and this plays in a movie like my head. I can literally play this movie and see everything about it, and it's not something I enjoy.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
something that's disturbing.
Yeah. Something that's not
And
supposed to be there.
well, yeah, I'm the biggest bad thing in the woods. I thought
You
not.
thought wrong.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's interesting that it was a female stalking you, you know? I do find that interesting.
Well, I found it disturbing on all levels.
I know. I know. So you didn't, I mean, she was stalking you, she's chasing after you basically, and I mean, she wasn't making the noise that a human would make through the woods, right?
Um, now you understand their overconfidence is about their only weakness,
Mm-hmm.
and their lack of confidence in ours is doubles that weakness. And so she doesn't know I know she's there. She wasn't looking at me when she jumped, so she doesn't know I know she's there.
Yeah.
But so she's in behind the brush, and she's thinking that she has me on surprise, but I'm not. I'm a little better in the woods than that.
Yeah.
So she stalks me all the way to this dim road, and she has the mathematical equation worked out in her head where we're going to be like this, and when I turn, we intersect. Well, when I get to that road, I jump out and I'm gone. Well, as she runs out the road, she scuffs her feet on the ground like a kid doesn't get her way and kicks pine straw and dust everywhere looking at me.
And you watched
Okay.
it, or?
Yeah, I turned around as I was running, and when I heard her come running up to the dim road, where she was 15 yards to my left. So I jumped out, took off running. I passed that intersection point and made it about another 15 yards when she come running out and looked at me. She's 15 yards behind me on the side of this dim road, and I look back, and she scuffs her feet, kicking up dust and pine straw, and looks at me like, well, now I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Now, and I have a weapon with me, but I don't want to kill her, so
Right.
I swap hands and I take off running, and I'm running like an Olympic runner,
Yeah.
and she catches me. And so she's 12 feet off of my left side, the brush line of this road, side by side, running with me for a mile.
That's
Okay.
insane.
Yeah. So the wives' tale and the myth chased me out of the woods. Wasn't supposed to be there.
No. So
And
what made you turn around? Was it just you didn't want to give her your back, or you just had to have another look, or?
I was listening to her feet. Okay, I'm listening to her feet move in the brush and in the leaves, and her feet got very rapid as she charged up that last few yards. After I jumped out and I made it past the intersection point, she charges forward. I hear her feet all the way to the edge of that road, and I looked back to see if I was going to need to turn around and fire.
Okay.
And so I turned around, and I looked, and she stops at the edge of that damn road, and she's looking like this at me. And she scuffs her feet on the ground, and I see pine straw kick up and dust. And I said, well, I'm just going to keep running, except faster,
Yeah.
And
Sprinkle
so,
Salt Lake on it.
yeah, so I run, I take off running, and she catches me, and now she's beside me. And the only thing kept me from spinning firing is that she stayed inside that brush line on the edge of that road. If she had come out in that road, I don't know if I'd be sitting here, but there definitely be at least one dead body there.
Yeah.
And but she didn't. She stayed in the brush line all the way until about maybe 50 yards before my trailhead, the brush starts peeling away, and she follows that brush all the way around. And I passed within 10 yards in front of her as I passed that trailhead and jumped out to a bar ditch where my truck was parked.
There's so many questions. That is probably one of the most intense encounters I've ever heard. I mean, just in sheer fright factor alone. Not to mention that, so first question, had you heard of Bigfoot? Like, or did you think, Bigfoot was even on your radar at this point?
As a kid, I spent time in the library, and they had books on Bigfoot, and I read them. I read every one of them.
Really?
And
okay.
I threw them down. I said, it's hogwash.
Yeah.
And I even asked my father. I said, "What is up with this? What is this subject?" He said, "It's a wives' tale. It's something that, people tell little boys to scare them."
Okay.
I said, "Okay," and I dismissed it. And so when I get in my truck after this wives' tale chases me down the road for a mile, I get in my truck. I'm straightening the curves out, and I said, I start laughing at myself. There's no way that happened. And I'm like, I said, okay, someone must have spiked my drink that I had, and I threw the drink down on the floorboard and kept going. And that bothered me for a couple of years, and I had to repress it. I had to repress that.
Well, yeah. So there's a lot of questions from the chat that we'll get to. Do you think that she intended to grab you?
Looking back at that time, it terrified me. What was in her head. Looking back, and as many as I tracked, I really think she was alone in that area for a long time, and she was needing some kind of attention. She wanted some kind of interaction with someone. Because they crave that. They are extremely social beings. And I got to take a break for a second. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. I will, I'll look at these questions that I have real quick. Okay. Thank you all for sending in so many questions. These are great. Just, keep them coming, of course. While he is taking a break, because he and I were on like 30 minutes before the show. So while he's taking a break, I will take a minute, ask you to go ahead and give me a big thumbs up on whatever platform you're using to listen, and subscribe for more content, of course. Yeah, I have those same questions, guys. Like but it can be very, this can be a big deal, and it can be life-changing. So Pat's going to take a break, and he'll be right back. In the meantime, I got plenty to talk about that while I have your undivided attention. So you guys, look at these. Look, I just got this one in today. Look at those. Okay, just want to plug these real quick. These are awesome. I've had to smack the hands of every single family member in my home because they keep trying to steal them and put them on things. So you guys can get these Teespring, my Teespring, and that link is in my bio. It's all over, and yeah, that's on Teespring. And hi, Pat, welcome back. Real quick, if you become a Nightcrawlers member and buy the membership, you get a free one of these. Okay, hi, welcome back. I took an opportunity while you were gone.
I knew you would.
Okay, are you ready for questions?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, I think you answered this one. Do the females overall look feminine, or do the sexes look about the same? And I think you answered that. You said she looked pretty feminine. You could tell it was a female, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you think Bigfoot immediately, or primate, or was she human looking in the face? That's definitely something I wanted to know, was like, you saw her face. Was she more human looking, and was that also a reason that you didn't pull your gun and fire?
She had my nose. Okay.
Okay, so a smaller nose. Okay.
She had my nose, hairy face, my nose, intelligent eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They are intelligent beings. They're not primates. They are just primitive beings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and their eyes are reflective. Their eyes gather light, and they have great eyesight in the day and even better at night.
Right.
And their eyes pull in light waves we can't perceive, and use that as night vision.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe honestly that they're kind of the ultimate predator, really, because they're a sentient being, but they're also more animalistic than we are, in the sense that, you know, they have heightened senses, and they haven't had their senses dulled by technology and everything like we have. Well, normal, the rest of us, not you, because you do your primitive stuff all the time. And so Patrick, the thing about Patrick that's really awesome is that he does bushcrafting and primitive living skills and all of that. So when he does all of that, he goes back to basics. He goes out into nature without the fancy equipment that the rest of us use to, you know, off-grid it. So he lives like a squatch, pretty much. All right, let me ask, hold on. There's more. So do you think she actually intended to grab you? You said no, not really. I made a joke about Bigfoot erotica, and I feel like this show could have gone there had she grabbed you. So, okay, hold on. Thank you, Mom.
Well, I don't kiss and tell.
Oh, you don't kiss and tell. That's for the members only episode, you guys. You'll have to buy a membership to hear that one. Okay. Bigfoot Club wants to know, did she give off a smell at all? Was there any smell, or were you just too freaked out to even notice?
I didn't notice a smell at that time. I have smelt her son that I've tracked up there.
Okay. And what did that smell like? Was it?
It's a very musky body odor smell. It's a clean smell. I didn't smell anything rotten. I didn't smell anything bad. It's just animalistic, musky body odor.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. There was a comment, and I'm just gonna. I don't know how to say. The Eteroa Sasquatch commented, "There's always time for shoo-shoo." This is not going to be a monetized video, I can already tell you. Okay, no smell. Somebody commented on your dimples. When you looked in her eyes, what color were her irises? Were her eyes like a black or dark?
Her eyes were reflecting the sun, because she was facing the sun. You know, when I got a good look at her, she passed between me and the sun, but I wasn't looking. I couldn't see her eyes. But when I passed her at that trailhead and I looked dead in her eyes, the sun was on this side and was shining right in her eyes. So I saw the sun reflecting in her eyes.
Okay.
And so that's just what I took from it. Now, I have had experiences. I've had 8 face-to-faces, and I've seen red eye shine, which I took as it was collecting the light waves that were naturally in the air that in the atmosphere that I couldn't perceive, and that's what they were reflecting. I've seen the white eye shine because my light wasn't as powerful enough, and it just reflected off its eyes. I've seen the closest I got, and I shined it at 6 feet in the eyes with a spotlight. August 3rd of last year.
Last year, okay, wow.
The pupils were green. The irises were amber. And about 8 to 10 millimeters past the iris was another reflector, but it was a star-shaped, starburst reflector that was amber also.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that at 6 feet with a Q-beam.
I've heard a lot of people give scientific based evidence based on their eyes and the cone shapes and all of that. So that actually makes a lot of sense. I believe that, like I said, I think they are the apex predator out there, and I think they have superior senses, eyesight being one of them, but I believe smell. I believe that when you walk into the woods, besides the fact that your body language changes when you're carrying a gun, which I carry in the woods, I'm not stupid, but besides the fact that your body language changes, I believe they can smell the oil that you use to clean your gun. I believe they can smell you, they can smell your cologne, your body wash, everything that hunters try to mask. I believe they can smell past all of that.
I've had them come in with me carrying a sidearm.
Oh, yeah.
But my holster is camouflage and my clothes are camouflage, and it's not a profound thing that I'm toting around. They really watch your hands.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a long weapon and your hands are empty, they'll come around and look around at you.
Yeah.
Mostly my go-to is my knife. That's my most carried weapon right there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And they don't mind that, but if you have something in your hand, you can't just walk into them with something in your hand. I've tried. I personally, as with my skill set, can't get within 400 yards of them and have them not know I'm there. So my hands have to be empty, and I have to slow my pace down and stop, and then let them decide if they're going to come in and circle around and whoop at me or what.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have anything in my hands, I have a lot better chance at that.
Yeah, you have a lot more success.
Mm-hmm.
I have some quick follow-up questions on the female sighting. Do you think that she was trying to keep you from a young one or protect a youngin?
She was young herself. She wasn't full grown then. She was 6'2". Now she's a foot, probably a foot and a half taller than that now. So
okay,
she was equivalent to a 17-year-old girl, 16 or 17-year-old girl back then.
Okay, and her gait whenever she was leaping, was it smooth or was it choppy? Did she take a step and just glide?
Walking smooth as silk, but running, she was very choppy. When she was running beside me, it's like she's stomping the ground, as she's running.
She was trying to gain speed.
Keep speed. Her feet hit the ground twice as fast as mine did. I was running smoothly and fast, but her feet was hitting the ground twice as fast as mine and was way faster than me. So,
do you think she was running flat out, or do you think she was just kind of loping beside you?
Oh, she wasn't nowhere near high speed.
Man.
In my second encounter, that one that chased me down in my truck, I was doing 40.
All right, so go ahead and tell us about that one, if you don't mind.
Okay. I'm in central Louisiana, on a deer lease. And my son, actually, I paid for my son to hunt there. I'm just guiding him. And he wanted to hunt that morning. And it was so far away, we could only, I'm only driving down there 2 weekends out of a month. And we're going to do a Saturday morning, Saturday evening, Sunday morning hunt and then drive back. Well, he wakes up, his stomach's upset, and I tell him we don't need to go. He begs me to take him. So I give him some Imodium and some medicines. We get in the truck, we drive down, 2.5 hour drive down there. And we get where we got to cut across this national forest down there. And it's Kisatchie National Forest. And we have to cut across down this parish road. Well, his stomach's upset. He has to jump out in the bar ditch and do his little business. Well, he does that going down this road several times. And the last 2 miles, he's good. We're booking 40 mile an hour across this, down this parish road to get to the deer lease gate. And we stop with my windows down, and I can hear something running in the woods out there, choo choo choo, you know. Well, then I didn't think anything about it. You know, we drove through, shut the gate, went on down. I put him in his deer stand. As I stopped, as soon as I stopped the truck, I hear this running in the woods. You know, and I think, no big deal. I get out, I get him in the deer stand, I lock him, you know, I shut the door on him. He's in there armed with a weapon. He's in his, you know, the box stands were on the ground because our first weekends were donated to Hunters on Wheels. And you had to have, you know, box stands on the ground for that. And so I put him in a stand, I get in my truck, I hang a left, go down this right of way for another quarter mile. And I park my truck, I get out of my truck, I click my pin light on, and what was running at the gate and what was running at the woods came running up to my truck and started stalking me down the wood line. And I'm like, what is that, you know? So I just turn, I keep walking, and I do this a couple of times, and finally it dawns on me, this is the same situation I was in just 6 years prior to this.
Yeah.
And there's no way this is happening again. This is a stupid problem to have, you know? And so I take off walking, and I'd shine trying to catch it, and I couldn't catch it. So finally, I instead of stopping and shining, I shined high and then turned around and stopped. And when I shined high with my pin light, I blinded him. He hit his head on a tree. You know, he stepped on a stick. The stick broke. He went head first into a tree. The tree had a limb right there that came out into the right of way, and all the mist that had been on that on the leaves on the end of that tree shook off into the right of way next to my boot. Man. Okay, so I'm standing there in the right of way with this rain coming off this green foliage off this limb, hit right here beside me, 3 foot off my boot, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's 8 feet tall, and I've got his eye shine in my pin light, and I said, okay, it didn't happen the first time. There's no way this is happening this time. And so I pinch myself and I twist and I pull hide, I pull hair, and I open my eyes back up, and he's still standing there. He's still there. I said, okay, you know, I can't go back this way. The little boy's this way. So whatever it is. And you know, and I kind of got aggressive. I said, well, you know, if I have to, I'm gonna kill this thing. Yeah. But it's the block of woods it's in is gonna come to 100 yards down there, and it can stalk me all the way to there, and when it steps out, I'm just going to shoot it. And so, you know, I make it all the way down. I'm on 360 pivot. My head's on a pivot. I got my flashlight in his eyes with my weapon pointed at him, and I pass the point of that block of woods, that corner there, and I go past that corner about 30 yards, and I get set up. You know, I'm shouldered, safety off, ready to rock and roll. Step out or go away, and it scuffs his feet. I hear him scuff his feet on the ground and turn, and he's gone down that wood line, inside the wood line, away from him. And I said, oh, thank God. Yeah. And I hit my pig trail. I start going down to where my stand is, about another 85 yards down there. My box stands on the ground. I get to it. And I get to it, and the door, of course, is off its hinges, and I've been needing to fix it, and I haven't. And so, you know, I pull the door around, you know, and cover the hole and just lean it up where there's a gap at the bottom and it's touching to the top. And I unfold my chair, sit down, click my light off, and I said, I'm safe. And it beat me there. It was 35 yards off of my door in the woods, and it's pitch black, and I don't have a light on. And I have a weapon in my hand, and I'm sitting in my stand. And I'm listening to this thing take a step, and its feet are moving oh so slowly, and it's just, and I'm mapping it out as it's stepping in the dark. You know, it makes a step, and you can hear the leaves crunch, and then the full weight, you know, hit the ground, and then closer and closer, and it covered that 35 yards in about 5 or 6 steps, and then it gets on all fours, puts his nose inside that crack at my door and goes and sniffs that door.
No, oh, it would have smelled something, but it wouldn't have been pleasant for him.
And the thing I thought was, oh my God, what does this want? Do I pull the trigger? Because I know where its head is. Do I pull the trigger? Do I kill it here? But the question in the back of my mind was, is this the only one here? is there another one?
Exactly.
And if I pull the trigger on this one, if I don't kill him right out, he could have a minute or two to do whatever he wants to me, and trapped in this box den. And my son, and he's 3 miles out here. He's 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about him. If I'd been alone, I might would have pulled the trigger, but I'm not alone. It's more than me. I'm just thinking about. And so I said, well, I'm not going to pull the trigger unless it touches that door. If it comes through that door, reaches in after me, I'm gonna have to empty my weapon.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then I realized I scent kill everything on me. That morning I took a shower with scent kill. I sprayed scent kill on her towel, wiped my entire body with scent kill, sprayed all the inside of my clothes with scent kill, each layer, and then my entire outer shell with scent kill. So it couldn't smell me. And I had some chewing tobacco in my mouth, so I spit the door, and it smelt the chewing tobacco, recognized me as human, and backed up. And then it turned and went away. And that was the encounter that I was ready. I was willing to say that there's a phenomenon in the woods that would make you think there's a Bigfoot after you.
Yeah.
That was as far as I could go to that time, and that's when I really started armchairing the subject. I didn't start actually studying the subject until we spent 8 years trying to debunk this subject, and we had a third encounter. She stepped into firelight and was like, "What's up?" And I'm looking at it. The person I'm dating is looking at it. My son's looking at it. There's 2 dogs going ape nuts over it. And she's standing there full frontal in the firelight looking at us. And I said, okay, these are real. Yeah. That's when I could accept the belief that this is a real being. It's really there. It knocks. It goes through the woods. It has great eyesight. Okay, now the study is going to start.
Right. So you then moved on to research. So what? I have a few questions. Do you think? Okay, Alan Lasseter would like to know. Do you think that they cover their tracks? Being a tracker, a third generation tracker, do you think that they cover their tracks?
Being a tracker, I've gone into areas and they're completely relaxed in it because they pattern man. Okay, you are patterned. There is a shared area. You have your home site that you drive from and go into the woods, and the woods is a shared area. They have their home site behind the water barrier, behind an area that people don't walk to, and that's where they're at. And and when you're not in there, they're in the woods. Or if they're in the woods and you come in, they'll just they see you a lot sooner than you see them. They just back off and get out of the way. So you really need to think of the woods as a shared area. It's both of y'all's.
I agree.
And so I've gone into areas of shared area and find their tracks completely relaxed, just stomping through the mud. They're not trying to hide anything because we're not supposed to be there. Okay, it's the wrong time of year for anybody to be there, but since I'm investigating them, I'm going to be there, right? And so I walked in and I found these muddy tracks going, and they're just plodding down this dim road, and then I'm guessing something disturbed that, and they started stepping on the side of trees. They would take their foot and step on the side of a tree, and they would do that for 150 yards down the side of trees, because you could find the muddy smudge off the bottom of their feet and the scuff in the bark, and they're trying to hide their tracks. They'll do it for 150 yards, and then they'll jump down into some more solid grounds they can find and take off. So they do hide their tracks.
Yes. Okay. So I agree with that. I actually had another tracker that has, I've gone out in the field with him before, and he kind of trained me on that as well, what to look for off the beaten path. Goodness. So do you think that they conceal their droppings or the remains of their meals? And that comes from Filmer of Bobcats.
I'm not sure how much concealment they do. That's not an activity I've actually witnessed them in. I did find one large piece of scat that I attribute to a young one that I know up there. and it was rather large, and I didn't take a sample. Okay.
Okay.
I left it alone.
Okay, I can understand. Okay, did your son see the one that you when you two were out there? Did your son see anything or hear anything?
He was a quarter mile away. He didn't know anything about it until he actually at camp that night, because I didn't go back that evening hunt. And so he's just piddling around, and he looks me dead in the eye and he says, "Hey, Dad, Sasquatch is going to get you tonight."
Ugh! Did he know
And,
anything, or was he just being a
no,
little?
I wasn't going to tell him. But when he said that, I said, "Why would you say it?" He said, "Because it's fun. It's scary. We can tell scary stories around the fire." I said, "You want a scary story?" I said, "Once upon a time this morning," and I went through the entire scenario that happened. And his eyes are big, and he's like, "There's no way that happened." I said, "That's exactly what I said."
Yeah.
But now that son did 2 summers ago. He was tracking with me, and we tracked up behind Little Sam. They're actually tracking Sasha, but Little Sam was a quarter mile away from me, and Little Sam starts doing that long, droning yell, 13-second long yell. He did it twice, and my son at that time said, "There's no way that's happening. There's no way." I'm like, "You hear that, right? You see the 16-inch tracks we're following. There's this 10-inch track here with it, and we're being yelled at by, what do you think's out here? That's not a turkey, And it goes back to something I was trying to say a while back, is I can show a deer track and ask someone what's in this area, and they say a deer, and I can show a hog track, and another person say there's a hog there. I can show a Sasquatch track and all their physical sign, and someone will say, "Well, no, that can't happen."
Yeah. Every time. Okay. I have 2 big questions for you. They're 2 standard questions, really. What do you think they are? And if they're real, why haven't we found a body?
I believe they are a primitive survival being, a purist survival being that rejects technology. It's just not that they don't like it. I mean, I think they absolutely hate technology. I think the natural world is what they love. Okay. And that's what I believe they are. As far as how come we can't find a body, you got me. I have theory on it.
Yeah.
There's theories out there that they consume their dead, but I don't know. I mean, if I ever find one of their graveyards, I'm gonna rob it.
Yeah. No kidding. So you think they consume their dead?
Do I? Yes, I think they do.
Okay.
I don't think a primitive being like that would let a body go to waste.
I don't think so either. And I think, people ask me why I think they're so intelligent and such sentient beings. And I said, they're smart enough to stay away from man. For the most part, they're very elusive and they stay away from man, and they go to great lengths to stay away from man and not be discovered. So I think that doing that is not outside the realm of, possibility at all.
Well, they study you. They study all of us. They know our weaknesses and our strengths, and they use that against us. I turn around and I understand, I did a lot of behavioral study with them, and I understand their strengths and weaknesses, and I use that against them in the same way. And that's how I've tracked 24 different individuals of their species and had 33 encounters and 8 face-to-faces, because I know what pushes their buttons.
Right. That's intense. That's so intense, just because I can't even imagine being sane after the first encounter. That very first encounter that's just so much more than most people even get, but when the hunter becomes the hunted, but then turns back into the hunter, I can see something like that happening. So, okay, hold on. Go ahead.
You have to be it's not like we're hunting an enigma. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is a being. Okay, if I wanted to hunt an animal, I want to know where its habitat is, how close I can get to it, how great is its eyesight, how great is its sense of smell, where can I track it at, what does it eat, how does it use the land. So when you start systematically answering all those questions, you'll start being in the areas that they're in and having those encounters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to happen. It just depends on whether you're going to see them, face to face, or they're going to be a blur behind the brush and at you.
So, have you ever had any other kind of like rock throwing or trees pushed down, all of that stuff, like aggressive displays?
Yeah, I had a tree limb ripped off a tree and thrown at me. I've had rocks thrown at me, and I was doing a preliminary scout for an expedition in central Louisiana, and I picked a spot where one should be at. We go in, we don't find any tracks on the way in, but on the way out, trail it crossed our back trail, 17-inch tracks. And as I'm down on one knee reading these tracks, it starts throwing. I start having little chunks of brown wood hit right in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hitting. And I realize this isn't falling from a tree. These are these little brown stumps that dot the landscape, and whatever made these tracks is uphill from me, pulling little pieces of tree off of a stump and throwing it at me, letting me know, hey, I'm watching you.
Yeah. I've actually had other people share that same experience to where they've just had little things just consistently thrown at them. And it's almost definitely to let you know, hey, I'm here, but also just kind of just to mess with them, just
I consider it passive aggressive.
Yeah, just to keep you off guard, keep you off center, is kind of the vibe I got from the other encounters I heard. Okay, so we have a filmer of bobcats wanted to know, do you think they groom each other like humans and other primates do?
I haven't witnessed it, but you can't rule it out.
Yeah. I mean, well, you said Lady Squatch had just, really pretty hair. So and also there was another question. Was her hair straight or was it wavy?
It was straight.
Okay.
It was straight. And what I talk about are things that I've witnessed, debunked, and wrapped my head around as this being a concrete piece of evidence. If I actually go into theory, that's when I'll say, okay, this is theory. So just for everybody in the chat is watching this.
Okay. All right. I think we're caught up on questions from them. So you've had a lot of experiences. I was going to ask what the best evidence was that you had seen to date, but you've had actual sightings, and I feel like, you can still answer that question if you want, but they're kind of moot point compared to the sightings that you've had.
There's one. My tracking partner and I are in South Arkansas, and we track one down. And we're watching it 115 yards out in the starlight in the field with its glowing red eyes. And the camera, we have a camera on expedition, and the camera is behind us, shining past us with the eye shine out there, twinkling, watching. That's probably one of the best evidence. That, and in North Louisiana, there's a spectrum waveform of a roar, and then 3 knocks, and then 6 knocks, and another 3 knocks.
Okay.
But you can hear the roar, pow, 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 and it goes into a knock sequence. And that was pretty good.
Man, this is all making me very anxious. Like, the amount of stuff that you've had happen, I'm just like, it's freaking me out. Okay. So Larry M wants to know, where are their homes if not in the woods? So to follow up on that, I'm not sure what, if he's asking, do you think that they have alternative forms of homes underground or?
Well, what's he asking is that I said you have shared areas that are the woods.
Okay, right.
Okay, you have your home that's in a city or in a rural area, and you go out to a national forest. The majority of that national forest is a shared area, but they do have a home site that's picked out that man don't go to. Okay, if a lot of people say a mile in, there's a water barrier and there's elevation behind it. People don't wear waders a mile in to go wade, a 30-foot bayou or backwater to get to another spot just to go up in elevation. People just don't do that. And if it is, it's very rare. So places like that is where they'll set up shop at. And they'll do it in elevation so they can see you coming. And it's areas that are void of man. Now, from that water barrier, when they cross that water barrier, they know they're in a shared area. And the further they go up towards any road or any man's made entrance into the woods, that they have a potential to meet you. And that's why they study you. They know your weaknesses. And when they move through the woods, they do it in a certain way. They'll move elevation to elevation, and they'll scope everything out.
Right.
And they'll move from that elevation to another elevation they've already scoped out. And when they get to it, they'll scope the rest of it out. And if they see you or hear you or smell you or hear your car coming on that rock road, they'll get back out of the way.
Right. Yeah. So how do you feel about game cams?
Game cams are great for deer. The downfall with them, and I tried to be objective about this, but I mean, I can see that it's an eyeball and it's looking in my game cam. Okay. But I try to be objective and just put something strange in my game cam. But you will never hide a piece of technology out there that they won't find. I don't care what it is. And I have a working theory that they can sense EMF. I haven't confirmed it, but I have a working theory that they can sense electromagnetic fields. Right. And no matter what you put out there, now I think you might be able to camouflage it. Now, if you had, say, a bike that, had some kind of electronics on it that was normal, and you could hide something in that bike.
Right.
That that they walk by all the time. You put a bike out there that has something has a battery in it, and they walk by it all the time, and they get used to it and desensitized to it. And if you take something else electronic put in there, I don't think they'd notice that much. Right. So that is something I thought about employing, or taking a bird box and building a bird box with a I can't think of the name of it, but it's basically copper wire mesh all inside of it, and it keeps the EMF from coming out. Right. And just stick it in the ground with a camera with all that insulation, EMF insulation, and perhaps they wouldn't find it that way.
Maybe, yeah. It's definitely something worth trying. Yeah, I have to agree with you. I try to tell people, they set up these game cams, or just, if somebody is having activity around their house and they don't want activity, I always tell them, first thing, put up a lot of lights, motion detector lights. I said, but second, put up cameras. They don't like them. They won't come around most of the time. And if they do, you'll get closure. You'll know what it is. But I always tell people, if I put a game cam, if I walk into your living room and put a game cam on your coffee table or beside your TV, you're going to notice, right? Okay, well, same thing with the Bigfoot. Like, that's their living room, and you walked in and you put a game cam around a tree, or you cut down limbs to put your game cam up. I mean, it's just, to me, it's fairly obvious to them.
I've tracked them avoiding game cameras. Okay, down on the river, there's a guy that has a baited field and a game camera, and I've tracked them up, and then they went around about 80 yards outside of the realm of that game camera and stayed out of there. So they know it's there.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that, they've studied technology for as long as it's been around, over the years, and they know what it sounds like, what it smells like, because technology does give off a smell. Electronics give off a smell. Plastic gives off a smell, not to mention the rest of, the electronics inside of it. And I truly believe that they can sense them. And I've had a lot of pushback on that. So much pushback, they're just animals. They don't know that it's there. And I'm like, that's that's not true. If they were just animals, they would not be as successfully elusive as they are.
You can't debunk evidence. The evidence suggests that they stay away from game cameras. There's a reason for that. It's just like anytime you're investigating, if you witness one do something, there's a reason it did it. Right. If you're in there and nothing happens, there's also a reason for that. You have to find the reason of both of those in order to find the truth.
Right. No, I agree completely. Okay, a couple questions. Alan Lassiter would like to know, do you think they travel in packs?
They have clans and they have families. I've tracked families and I've tracked clans. And I have also tracked one alone. Okay. And so, one will go alone into a new area. And after a while, another shows up. And if it's the right chemistry, I guess, they will have a family.
Okay. We're not going to get into Bigfoot erotica, you guys. We're not doing it tonight. That's the members only show. So Kelly Carnes actually has a great question, and I'm eager to know what you think about this as well. Why is it that coyotes always seem to be around the Bigfoot? Do you think they're followers, scavengers, pets?
When you have a good population of predators like coyotes, that means there's a good population of game. And Sasquatch set themselves up for success when it comes to game. So you'll find them. I have found them in the same area myself. I've even heard 3 of them mimic a canine. I had one in Central Louisiana, and it was a real raspy, rah, rah, rah. And it's obvious it's a Bigfoot. Matter of fact, it turned around and come back up there and yelled at all 3 of us. And then in southern Arkansas, the one that we saw in the field was just mimicking a coy wolf. He was up there on the hill, and then within 5 minutes, he's in the middle of the field out there walking around. We're watching him. And then at a primitive encampment, and we haven't even touched that side of things. No. I heard one come up. We had a dog in camp, and one come up, and he said he sounded like a terrier at first. And I know the area. There's no terriers back there. He said he sounds like a rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, well, that sounds strange. Then he goes, woo, woo. And then he goes, whoa. And he's just down the hill about 40 yards outside of camp doing this, whoa, trying to trigger the dog that's in camp. And the dog knows it's not a dog, so he's not even barking at it.
Yeah.
So that's 3. That's 3 that I've heard them mimic a coy wolf, a coyote, and try to set a dog off.
I don't know that I've heard them mimic a dog. I've heard them mimic coyotes a lot. In Fouke especially, every single time I'm there, and I know there's a red wolf, I think, that runs around Fouke, or they're trying to prove runs around Fouke, but in the Fouke area especially, every time I'm there, and the last time I was there, it did it all night long, and I did not have my recorder with me. I fail as a researcher. I turn in my researcher card. Okay, I'm a failure. All night I laid there listening, and it's like the coyotes would start up, and then there was something that would start up immediately right after the first coyote, or vice versa. That thing would go off, and then the coyotes would start up immediately, like almost at the same time, but just a step behind. Yeah. And I have heard that Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, I have heard that so many times out in the field, but especially in Fouke, this, whatever it was, it is so loud. It is not a coyote. There's no way. It maybe could be a wolf running around with the coyotes or something, but it's not a coyote.
Did you ever thought about turning the light on and walking out to it and tracking it?
Well, no, because in, this is when I'm at Smith Park, and it's like across the lake. Or, I'm, down Drew Palmer Road, and it's, over here. It's always far enough away that there's no way I could get to it.
Behind a water barrier or something.
Always. And it's because it carries, but every time. And it's just, I truly believe that Bigfoot and coyotes have a symbiotic relationship. I do. I don't know if they're announcing it's dinner time or, on that note, there have been a lot of pictures of coyotes that have been found just with their heads twisted backwards and just left there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always thinking to myself, like, did it try to go for the food before the Bigfoot could? And, the owner had to put its pet down. Like, I don't know why that would be. And these were not carcasses that had already been scavenged and the head was twisted. These were fresh carcasses with the head twisted.
Well, in terms of survival, competition is enemy.
Mm-hmm.
If you got something that's going to try to eat your food, you kill it first.
Right.
And with which, if it was me, I'd eat the coyote and then go eat the deer.
Yeah. See, that's the problem with me. I don't know if I could be like a Bigfoot and just eat and run. Like, I'm more of a hoarder, not a hoarder. I'm definitely a hunter gatherer. Like, I would want stock for, I'm not a eat on the run. The world ends, I'm going to be carrying around my 75 pounds of rice and beans. It's going to be rough. Okay. So boots on the ground with Barb. Great question. Do you think that crows alert them, or do you think it's just the crow's nature to announce your presence or anybody's presence coming through the woods?
The only association I've had with crow is I had one kill a crow and leave it for me.
Okay.
And it did it twice in 2 camps, and it was warning me to stay out of an area. That's the only dealings I had with a crow and Bigfoot.
Okay. I've actually had other encounters like that. Crow or crow feathers.
Mm-hmm.
I think birds announce all predators, and they're annoying while you're researching, especially. Just want to throw that out there. The tree knocks. What do you think the tree knocks mean?
I know what they mean. I researched them for years. A single knock is, "Hey, I'm here." Now, this is in the general areas that I research. There is one area in southeast Mississippi that this doesn't work in, and I don't know why. But Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, I found these work. This is the rule. One knock is, "Hey, I'm here." But that gets complex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it's a "Hey, I'm here," if it's a single knock and it comes in and it gets subtle as it's coming into you, it's a respectful conversation to you, and it's saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here. I'm available. I'm here." If it comes in at 40 yards and does a loud single knock, it's saying, "Hey, I'm here. Your presence is not required."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's, single knock, and it gets a little more complicated than that, but I wouldn't make it any more complicated than that. That's really what you need to know. If you're at 40 yards and one comes in and goes, whack, get out of the area. It don't want you there.
Okay.
Two knocks is, "Hey, I'm here, and so should you be." That's how it translates.
A lot of those. I've had a lot of those. A lot of two knocks, just a bam bam when you walk in and a bam bam when you walk out.
Yeah, that's a "Hey, I'm here, and so should you be."
Okay.
And a 3 knock is "Danger warning, get out of this area now." That's a 3 knock, and that is and now that's in the areas I've been in. That cannot be a blanket statement. I haven't been in North Oklahoma. I haven't done this in Colorado or Wyoming. There could be clans out there like in southeast Mississippi that have no idea what knocks are.
Right.
They'd rather yell at you. I have audio recordings of them going whoop, or screaming at me. They'd rather scream and yell than do a knock. Yeah. So, but the general rule of thumb is 1 is "I'm here," 2 is an invitation, and 3 is a warning. That's a general rule of thumb. Okay.
All right, that's good to know. And, I can definitely verify the 2 knock rule at least. I've just had it happen too much. I ascribe to the sentinel theory that 2 knocks are, they're alerting the others that there's someone here.
Yeah.
They're here,
Yeah.
and then another 2 knocks when you're leaving. They're gone.
Yeah, they may not be talking to you. They may be talking to someone else.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went in and did a single knock and got a 2 knock from one that he thought he knew he was talking to. He did a 2 knock and then he come in and there I am. There's a single knock and leave. You know, so it's so he assumed he knew he was talking to.
Yeah. You sneaky thing, you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when you're researching, what's some equipment that you just can't go without?
My knife.
Okay.
I carry my knife and I carry my cell phone, and a lot of times I have a tracker on my phone that I send to a friend of mine that is GPS tracking me wherever I'm at, so that at least someone could find my body, or if they find my phone, they might find Sasquatch. Who knows?
Yeah. Either way, they'll be like Jurassic Park. They'll find it in a big pile of poop.
Thanks for that image.
Still ringing the Nokia ringtone.
Yeah, with a finger bone up there.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, if you find my body in the woods and it's a Sasquatch kill and you find any piece of me, look for DNA, because I'm going to go out getting some DNA. So we had a question back here and I just wanted to touch on it really quick because it was relevant to you. It was about the area. Oh my goodness, hold on. It was about the area. Have you ever encountered a Bigfoot in northern Louisiana? And if so, what parish? Or was it in central Louisiana? And you don't have to answer that if you don't want to give away your research area, but have you ever encountered a Bigfoot in northern Louisiana?
I've encountered 9 Sasquatch, 10, 11, 12 Sasquatch in North Louisiana.
Okay.
Tracked them, actually, would be more accurately. Some of them I encountered, some of them I tracked, but I tracked every one of them. I don't give locations away for simple fact that I'm not putting their lives in jeopardy. Right. Man has a thirst for destruction. And
number one reason that Bigfoot hasn't come out and been like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Yeah, and I've started last year having vehicles follow me, so I'm very careful about that.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, actually, because man tends to destroy everything that they come into contact with, just like you said. All right, let me make sure we don't have any more questions. Hi, Bama. Welcome to the chat. Good to see you. If you have a question, put it in chat. Caps. Okay, so you said your knife is equipment you can't go without. Is there any other equipment that you prefer, like actual like night vision, thermal, audio equipment? Like, what's the one thing besides your knife that you just can't go without when you research?
Well, it's good to have a recorder. I think everybody should have at least a recorder. As a team, a recorder and a thermal is good. But if to really have great encounters, you can't have anything in your hands. You can't be reeking of technology. I've done better going in without technology and gaining knowledge of what it's going to take to solve the equation, rather than going in with technology and never getting an idea of even what questions to ask. What's left to have answered.
I agree completely. I'm kind of the same way. I always have, an audio recorder or something like that on my person or at camp or whatever. But as for other tech, I think they're just too smart for that. And I feel like whenever I walk into the woods with tech, I'm not going to have near as much activity. I'm just not. So Kelly Carnes said that she has seen them in one area and he left miles away to another area. Do you think that they follow you when you do that?
Mine has a winter home and a summer home. There's about 4 miles between each one. So they will stay in one area for a while, and then they'll be in 3 or 4 miles down the road in another area, just because of the change of seasons and what's available food sources.
Okay. All right. And so you track in Louisiana. Are there other states that you track in?
I've tracked in Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and some of it is personal. Some of it is someone called me up and said, "Hey, I have something going on. I need you to track this out and see what's up."
Okay.
So,
okay. I mean, have you had interactions in all those states?
yes.
Okay. And have you found that they're different to track or different behaviors in those states?
Some clans are more aggressive. They have a whole lot more confidence the more there are in that area. The one I tracked that was by himself acted timid, less aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
The ones where there's 8 of them in Mississippi, and they come in and start screaming and yelling. They're not scared. They're not worried because they know their numbers and their strengths in the numbers. So they're a little more attitude-ish, but and of course their demeanor is completely different than what I'm in my area.
Right.
And they use the topography changes, and so they use the topography differently. And of course, the substrate of the soil in each area changes, and so you got to look for neck down spots in different areas and how they use the terrain differently in different states.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the truth. Like you said, they go from, elevation to elevation, and different places have different variations of that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever found anything like a bedding area or nests?
One time on a trip to Mississippi, and this was actually pure accident. A person picked a place, and I was going to go down and teach primitive living skills, and we're going to put it on video. Okay. Well, he picked a place, and I get there first, and there's an X, and 10 feet behind the X, there's a round, 5.5 foot round, padded down, leafy, and there's leaves and pine straw mat that's 18 inches high, and it's just like a bed. And I'm like, I actually chew this person out. How could you pick this area for us to camp in for 4 days doing primitive living skills when this is here? And he's like, I'm not worried. I said, okay. So we stayed there, and that being actually came in that Friday night, came in and reached under my diamond fly bedroll, my shelter, and flipped my bedroll over, and then went back out. No, I was fixing to go to bed. I was at the fire gathering my, what I had up to go get my bedroll. I just went down, straightened my bedroll out. Mm-hmm. I go back up the fire, and I have a pistol with me and a knife and a coffee cup. And I hear something coming up, and it reaches under the back part of my tarp. That's, that high off the ground. It reaches up, takes my bedroll and flips it. And then withdraws his arm and runs around the foot of this hill, and crosses the ridge, goes down in a little dip and back up on top of another ridge line. And I'm yelling at it, "Get out of here!" And it turns around and goes, "Wah!" And that was a bad night. I was up to 4 a.m. yelling and talking to this thing, and I was the only one up. Yeah. And, so finally, 4 a.m, I lay down, I go to sleep, I get up, and it's, that person's like, "Well, I think we need to leave." I'm like, "Cool." I'm out of there.
Yeah. I'd have to say that'd be my limit, my hard limit.
Well, it didn't mean any harm. It's just that we're sleeping in its living room.
Yeah. 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 So you're lucky it didn't draw anything on your face with Sharpie or, play any other pranks on you. Put your hand in warm water,
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes left, about 10 minutes left. Are there any other encounters that you wanted to share with us? Or I can ask another question. I have another question as well.
I got to take a break again. I'll be right back.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. While he is taking a break, I'm going to go ahead. There was a question from the chat asking if he was going to be at the Falk campout. So I'll ask him when he gets back. However, I wanted to go ahead and plug the Falk campout. That is March 5th through the 7th in Falk, Arkansas. So it's actually Alex Smith Park, which is in Doddridge, Arkansas, but it's right next to Falk. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's in Smith Park. It's primitive camping, so bring your own gear, bring your own food, all of that. It's a great time. This is the second annual Falk Monster Campout, but we also had the Halloween campout over Halloween weekend. It was really great. Good people show up every night. We have a big bonfire, and on Saturday night, we'll have storytelling around the fire. You're welcome to join, of course. There will be vendors set up for you to buy, t-shirts and collectibles. I believe Billy Bigfoot's going to be there. She Squatch will be there. Of course, Keith Crabtree, the Falk Monster, will be there. I'll be there. The whole Night Callers, me and my mom will be there. And it's really a good time. You guys come. It's free. Donations are welcome, of course. And so from now on, just FYI, the Falk Monster Campout will be in honor of Tanya Knight every single time. So donations will eventually be made into a fund honoring her. So we've had some amazing questions tonight, and I am so thankful for you guys for being on here and asking questions, being live in the chat. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you listening. More than anything, I appreciate you being respectful of my guests always, and having, that respectful questions and everything like that. So thank you guys for all of that. And the Falk Campout event, there's more info on it on Facebook. And you can go to the Night Callers page and check that out and look at all the info, or just message me and I can give you more info on it. Pat, they wanted to know, are you going to be at the Falk Campout? Are you doing that quiet thing again, or are you muted? He was messing with me before the show, acting like I couldn't hear him. Okay.
I plan on it.
All right, good. I'm really glad that you're going to be there. So you guys, if you come to the Falk Campout, you can meet Patrick in person, and y'all can grill him with your questions that y'all all have. Okay, one last question from Bigfoot Society podcast, an affiliate of Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. What is the most scared you've been in a Bigfoot expedition?
An expedition or encounter?
An expedition.
Expedition.
I think your encounters are terrifying.
On expedition, most terrified. Okay, we're in Mississippi, and I just tracked 7 individuals down there. Okay, and one of them is a juvenile. She's across the creek and she's screaming. And we left that area, went to another area. I tracked 2 there. We get back to camp, and we're camped in this pop-up camper in this park. Well, 2 people there decide they're going to go to the showers, hit the showers, and I'm going to sit at camp till they get back. But I hear this knock come in across this small lake on top of a hill. Knock. And then at the head of that lake, and it's maybe a 15-acre lake. Knock. And it's coming around this lake. And the 2 with me are like, it's your imagination. But I see, you don't hear these knocks. Well, they're just trying to squash it, Well, it comes all the way around the lake knocking. And so I get in the pop-up, and I'm standing in the pop-up with a weapon drawn. And if it comes up there, and does anything, I'm going to have to do something. Mm-hmm. Well, then they come back, they get in there, I run up the hill, take a shower, come back and lay down. Well, the next morning we find tracks just outside of our pop-up camper right there in the sand. It had come up there. We had been in there tracking it, and it tracked us back to our camp, was watching us then. And it was just, and it circled our camper. And that night I just, I did not feel safe in a pop-up camper.
No. Yeah. Anytime I sleep in a tent, if you start feeling kind of hinky and you go ahead and go get in your bed, and it's a piece of nylon between you and certain death, but it just makes you feel so much better. It really does.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, at least they can't just reach in and just grab your bedroll without letting you know.
Yeah. That's true. At least they can't flip it over and play pranks on you and stuff. But Pat, you have been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I am so thankful for you to come on my show, and I'm honored to have you. Great experiences and really insightful. I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say, but just the way you brought about your experiences, and just, with all of your primitive living skills, experience that you've had in bushcrafting and all of that, your tracking, and then applying that to Bigfoot and relaying those experiences. I've really enjoyed this show. I think everybody else has as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much. And I am going to let you go. And you guys, I have something for y'all if y'all hold on. All right. Thank you, Pat. Okay. So that was a great show with Pat. Patrick Vaugn, he's a font of knowledge, but he's also just so personable and humble and real. So I really enjoyed that show, you guys. That was an amazing guest. Really quick, I want to show you guys. So I recently launched the affiliates of Nightcallers Bigfoot Radio. And so what that is you can support me at Nightcallers Bigfoot Radio, and in turn I will promote your show on all my platforms to help you, help me, all of that. So I wanted to kind of go over some of my affiliates who have joined. And so we have Nightcallers, of course, like I'm doing big things and I want you to join me. We have Bigfoot Society podcast with Jeremiah Byron. He has great guests on. You have to go check him out. And Bipolar Teddy Bear Network. I was actually on their show and Bigfoot Society podcast. We have Bigfoot Crossroads, Weird Realities podcast, and Weird Realities Inc. We have Beaverhook Productions, and that's with Logan Craft. So, and Weird Realities Inc. is a new one coming out. You have Bigfoot Club. I need to time these better, you guys. I'm going kind of fast. Bigfoot Club with Bob Dominguez. So you guys go check them out. You can check out nightcallersproductions.com on more info on how to become an affiliate. And if you are interested in becoming a member versus an affiliate, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/nightcallers. So that is all I have for tonight, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, next week is Jamie King, and he'll be on a Zoom chat. And so what that will be is for my members only. And so if you sign up to be a member, you get to join in a Zoom chat with Jamie King, and you'll get to chat with him and the other members face to face, ask questions. It won't really, it'll be me interviewing him, but more all of us just talking to the guests. So you guys definitely join in. And I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate your support and everything. So thank you. That's all I have. Be safe, be kind, and have a great week, everybody.